Welcome back, Astro listeners, to Star Lady Soul Reader Network. This is your host, Media Monk, and we have our shining star of the zodiac on the other line. It's Star Lady. Hi, hello, Star Lady.
Hello, Media Monk.
Yeah, most of us recall that Star Lady is indeed Kim Marie, the managing director for our network. We continue to certify new evolutionary astrologers worldwide. And yet we have a lot of other materials on our website to take a peek at, www.evolutionaryastrology.net. We might suggest going to the forecasting webinars page, our podcast page, of course, where you'll get the replay of podcasts like these, and lots of other stuff. So always call us at 1-605-348-5111 with any questions and or to schedule your private time with Star Lady. All right. Well, I guess I'll just turn it over to you. We're happily on a full moon cycle, big supermoon cycle.
Yes, we have a supermoon coming up. We are recording this the day before. Our full moon is going to be November 5th with Sun at 13.5 Scorpio and Moon at 13.5 degrees Taurus. And by supermoon, it just means that it appears larger in this full moon. And actually, this is the largest appearance of the full moon in 2025. And what happens is it's just the moon's orbit around the Earth. And so the moon appears 14% bigger and almost a third brighter. So if you can get outdoors tonight, tomorrow night, what is this, Tuesday, Wednesday from this recording, you enjoy that full moon, by all means, go for it. We may or may not have it tonight. I'm hoping we will. Anyway, the full
But Star Lady,
moon,
while you're on that thing, I forgot to get out on that full moon. We're going to have our Mercury retrograde pay it forward Zoom call too. So I wanted to mention that to everybody at the outset of this podcast. Just join us on Wednesday night. Live Zoom call on the Mercury retrograde in Sag Scorpio, and the link is right there in an email in your inbox if you're on our newsletter list. If not, just contact Media Monk at evolutionaryastrology.net, and I will help you get in. So I wanted to make sure we got that out.
All right. Thank you very much, Media Monk. Yes, I'll talk about a little bit of that Mercury retrograde, but I'll save most of it for our free Zoom webinar, which will be posted on our website and on our YouTube channel for you to catch up on. Well, I'll just say right now, this is probably one of the busiest Mercury retrogrades I've seen in a few years because Mercury is aspecting every single planet. I, don't usually count the moon because everything aspects, well, the moon makes every aspect it can make to every planet within a monthly cycle. This Mercury retrograde is aspecting Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Chiron, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. All the planets. And there's some nice trines, but there's also conjunctions to Mars, oppositions to Uranus. There's a mixture of emotional energy and fiery sparking energy, and so it might stir everything up for quite a bit throughout the month of November and even into December. Again, if you'd like more information on that, you can join our Mercury webinar or catch the recording of it. Back to that full moon. So, as I just said, it appears larger. For those of you who don't know this, okay, I got too many facts going on in my head. I am going to refer to my notes just to make sure I got it. Yep. The moon is 400 times smaller than the sun. However, the moon is 400 times closer to the Earth than the sun is. Wrap your head around that one. We all look outside, and when we see the sun and the moon, they appear to be the same size from our geocentric Earth-center perspective. However, one more time, the moon is 400 times smaller than the sun. The moon is 400 times closer to the Earth than the sun. That's why they appear to be the same size. So when the moon is going around Earth on a lunar monthly basis, about twice a year it comes as close as it can get to the Earth, which is perigee. That's how we come up with the supermoons, the super full moons to be more specific. If we think about how the moon affects the tides of the oceans on planet Earth, that same emotional interaction is going on with you. I was telling Medium, I stubbed my toe, and I did it last week, and I was going along fine, and I'm like, why is my toe hurting again? And it was like, duh, Kimberly, full moon coming up, all the liquids in this human body of yours are kind of being expanded. Think of it like those tides. Oh, that's why it's a little sore again, and I have to wear sandals for a while. Get my point of what I'm talking about. So be very gentle with yourself this first week of November, because before that full moon, after that full moon, it can just really have us a little more heightened emotionally. Even though, again, it is the full moon of Taurus at about 13.5 degrees Taurus. That moon in Taurus can actually be working to help calm us down, help us be a little more grounded and a little more practical, help us perhaps not quite fly off the emotional Scorpio handle that we can have a tendency to do. Now, the day we're recording this, November 4th, we have Mars making one opposition to Uranus, 0 Sag, 8 minutes, Uranus retrograde, 0 Gemini, 8 minutes. Remember I said this Mercury retrograde cycle is going to have 3 conjunctions to Mars, different signs. It's going to have 3 oppositions to Uranus retrograde, Gemini, and back to Taurus. So here's the Mars-Uranus that's taking place as we talk. As of this recording, I don't know of any bombs going off or any major Mars-Uranus upsets taking place, because these are the 2 planets that can really create surprises and traumas and upsets. Stay tuned. We'll just see how the next day or 2, the week goes by with their orb of influence. But for Mars to be moving into 0 degrees Sagittarius, that's also what it's doing November 4th, okay? Same day it makes the opposition to Uranus. Mars is in Sag, November 4th through December 15th. You know, Sagittarius is a fire sign. You know, Mars rules the fire sign Aries. There's a symbiotic trine energy of these 2 fire archetypes. Mars is comfortable here. Mars is excitable here. Mars wants to be the preacher, teacher. Mars wants to kind of take all its wisdom and lead the pack, so to speak. So Mars can be quite energizing in, hey, listen to me, follow me, let's go for it. I will show you the way. Sagittarius, religion and spirituality. Mars can also go overboard. That's one of the distortions of the Sagittarius archetype. If a little's good, a lot more is better. It kind of even follows after Scorpio in that realm. Both of them do it. Sagittarius tends to do it with its stories. The stories get bigger and bigger and bigger every time somebody tells them. Well, Uranus, initiating itself into Gemini on, I want to say it was July 4th. It was early July. It went retrograde, and it is going to go back into Taurus one more time, November 7th. Uranus retrograde goes back into Taurus November 7th, going to turn stationary direct early next year, February, and then it won't go into Gemini till April 25th. So Mars stationary retrograde at almost 0 degrees Gemini is going to do that classic blow the bubble. I'm right, you're wrong, I'm telling the truth, you're lying, and vice versa. Happens to be taking place on a little bit of a election time period here in the United States. A couple of states and cities have some of their elections off years, in other words, odd years, not even years in the U.S., and so stay tuned. We'll see what happens. Most of the races people are looking at, Democrat is expected to win. Expect Republicans to, cry all their similar terms of it was stolen, fraud, et cetera, et cetera. There's your one example of the Uranus, or the Mars-Uranus opposition. Now, again, as Uranus goes back into Taurus, we are going to have another 5-6 months, 5.5 months time period of finishing up the journey of Uranus and Taurus. And so, will that relate to what I have classically said, the Earth events and climate change? Will it relate to Uranus doing a disruption of economic cycles or financial cycles? I'm not a follower of the cryptocurrencies, but I do remember hearing somewhere that Bitcoin just had, a really major drop. I don't know if it's made it back or not, but Uranus retrograde back into Taurus, again, can deal with the physical earth. It can deal with resources. And if we are running around with, for instance, AI bubbles with hedge fund investments, those could, be exposed as Uranus dances back into Taurus one more time. It would be such that I would say kind of, just be a little conservative with resources. With Pluto in Aquarius, Uranus in Gemini, and their waxing trines and all of the technological explosions that can go on, it can sometimes make us over-enthusiastic about, getting on the, what do they call them? I don't know, there's an acronym for buying tokens and memes and all that kind of stuff. Be careful with that. It could have a little bit of upsets here as we're looking at things. And, of course, if you're looking at the shutdown of the federal government that's taking place right now, Uranus retrograde back into Taurus is really affecting the finances and the pocketbooks of those who rely on SNAP or food stamp benefits, those who are working without pay because they are an essential federal worker. There's another example for you of this Uranus movement back into Taurus. One more time, just really ask what your values are, especially during this Mercury retrograde that's coming up. This Mercury retrograde is going to have, from this Mercury retrograde cycle to the next one in late January, Mercury's going to make 3 conjunctions to Venus. During this Mercury retrograde cycle, before, during, after, Mercury's going to have 3 conjunctions to Mars. Venus values and Mars desires are really being activated right now. Again, more on that in the Mercury retrograde webinar. So as this Mercury retrograde is stirring things up, review your budget. Review what's important to you on your value systems. Venus goes into Scorpio November 6th, the day before Uranus reverses back into Taurus. So Venus in Scorpio is going to deal with our intimacy issues. It's going to deal with the shared resources if we're in a partnership. And so this is an excellent time period. One more time, review our values around resources. Review our budgets, especially as we're getting ready to go into the holiday season and consumeristic America really tries to grab every penny out of your pocketbook that it absolutely can. Venus in Scorpio goes deep with relationships. Having Venus in Scorpio during a Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius, Scorpio, by the way, Mercury goes retrograde November 9th at 7 degrees Sag, and it goes direct November 29th at about 21 degrees Scorpio. So we've got Mercury, left brain retrograde, and right brain intuition, Sagittarius. That can create a little confusion. Then it retrogrades back to Scorpio with Venus transiting through Scorpio, and we're going to get to the deep essence of what's going on with intimacy in intimate relationships, with resources, especially shared resources, as I've been saying, with how we want to do any negotiations in intimate relationships. If you are not in relationship, then go to that polarity Taurus and really look at how you can improve upon that inner Taurus intimate relationship with yourself. One of the interesting things about this Mercury retrograde is that Mercury goes retrograde along with Jupiter going retrograde. 3 weeks later, Mercury goes direct as Saturn goes direct. Mercury aspecting 8 planets. Mercury having the stationary retrograde and direct with Jupiter and Saturn respectively. Again, emphasizing all that can go on in this Mercury retrograde cycle. So Mercury goes direct November 9th. Jupiter goes retrograde November 11th at 25 degrees Scorpio. Jupiter always has a 10-degree retrograde cycle. Jupiter will go direct March 10th at 15 Cancer. So again, Jupiter retrograde November 11th, 25 Cancer, direct March 10th, 15 Cancer. Jupiter, that ruler of Sagittarius, with Mars in Sag, Mercury in Sag, Venus going into Sag in December. Mars in sensitive, emotional Cancer is not always comfortable there. Mars turning retrograde means we've got to go inward emotionally and discover that next level of meeting all of our own emotional needs. And just a review for anybody new, the archetypes of Moon, Cancer, 4th house tend to operate through cycles of animation, withdrawal. Animation, withdrawal. We're moving along, something triggers us, we go inward, we withdraw. And the purpose of that is to figure out why, what's going on emotionally, what triggered me, who triggered me, how do I heal myself, how do I love myself, how do I find a new level of emotional inner peace, rebalance, homeostasis. Once we have calmed down emotionally and figured out what was going on in our world, then we pop back over to that animation cycle again. We become excited. We want to emote. We want to have conversations. We want to share it with everybody. Let me talk about what's going on for me emotionally and what this whole Mercury retrograde cycle has meant for me. And by the way, the Mercury retrograde cycle will make a grand trine all throughout its cycle, because when it goes back into Scorpio, trines to Jupiter, trines to Saturn, trines to Neptune, we have a lot, that grand trine, water, emotions going on with this Mercury retrograde. Jupiter turning retrograde with Mercury is going to emphasize things emotionally. Love yourself. Calm yourself down just as best as you possibly can. When Mercury goes stationary direct, we'll touch upon this some more the end of November, but Mercury goes direct again November 27th. Saturn goes stationary direct first, November 27th at 25 Pisces. Mercury follows stationary direct at November 29th at about 21 Scorpio. That end of November is going to be a time period where all of the emotional issues that have been going on for us, all the emotional issues that have been triggering us, Mercury direct is the aha moments. Saturn stationary direct one more time in Pisces is where we really want to be having that deep inner emotional connection with Source so that we can make peace with the reality of our world, Saturn. We could talk about that again on a New Moon podcast. One more aspect that is going to come right hours after the new moon, November 20th, 28 Scorpio for you, those of you looking ahead, is on November 20th, again, right after the new moon, Uranus is going to make the second of 5 waxing sextiles to Neptune. November 20th. Uranus is going to be retrograde at 29.5 degrees Taurus. And Neptune is going to be retrograde at 29.5 degrees Pisces. Waxing sextiles are choice points. This is the second one. Sometime in the middle of next year, we'll have 3. Then later on, we'll have 4. And in 27, we'll have the 5th waxing sextiles. They had their original conjunctions 1993 between 18 to 20 degrees Capricorn. So here they are. Here's Uranus, 60 degrees past Neptune in a 172-year cycle. Waxing sextile choice points. How do I choose to move forward in my world with these big outer planetary cycles moving into new signs, retrograding back into their old ones? And this is what the second sextile is doing. Uranus back into Taurus. How am I inwardly secure? Neptune moving back into Pisces. How am I at peace in my world with all the changes going on? Are my beliefs evolving with the changes on planet Earth? Is my belief system giving me an inner peace through the changes? Are my inner security levels on different ways? Am I really, again, feeling safe? Media Monks had a classic question that he always poses to different people. He did it recently to someone that we were having a conversation with. Do you believe the world is safe, Or do you believe the world is unsafe? Depending upon your perspective, that's going to be your attractor magnet of what you draw in. And so these waxing sextiles of Uranus to Neptune in Taurus, Pisces, that's exactly what it's going to be about. And so ask yourself that question: do I believe that my world is safe? If your conclusion is no, what is it that is an opportunity here for you, waxing sextile, to change things in your world, inwardly, outwardly, so that your perspective and your belief system changes? You know, I love to say, you know, thoughts are beliefs. Change your thoughts, change your beliefs. Or as Joe Dispenza would say, what fires together in our brain wires together. Mercury retrograde, how do you want to change your mental wiring? How do you want to change your thought processes so that then you can evolve your beliefs? That's going to be that larger undertone to these Uranus sextiles to Neptune. All right, Medium Monk, that was just a rattle. I didn't even have any caffeine. I don't drink a lot of caffeine, but anyway.
Well, you shook it up pretty good. So thank you for the information. And remember, tomorrow night, Wednesday, by the time you listen to this, it's probably over, but, you know, we're going to be posting the Mercury retrograde Pay It Forward Zoom call on our YouTube channel as well, so you can tune into it after the live event. But join us tomorrow night at 5 o'clock Mountain Standard Time and get all the details about Mercury retrograde, you know, aspecting every other planet, as Star Lady just kind of delineated. So until then, continue to move with joy and lots of passion on this never-ending journey to the core of our soul.